5th grade, here's your second lesson for week number 20. We're going to be doing module 6, lesson 2. So this is representing addition with different sized parts. So when you're done, you're going to be able to represent the sum of fractions with different sized parts using a visual model. I know sometimes they're going to show a visual model with a circle. They don't show it on here, but on another page it did. When we draw them, it's best if we do a rectangle. It's easier to break apart a rectangle and make sure that both pieces are even than it is to break apart a circle to make sure both pieces are even. So please, when you're doing your models, you're just using a rectangle. We're going to be using that kind of a shape to do our visual learning. Okay? So Julia runs through an obstacle course. She climbs a cargo net in 1/4 minute. Then she crosses the balance beam in 1/6 minute. How long does Julia take to complete both obstacles? So we see that she can climb the cargo net in 1/4 of a minute and cross the balance beam in 1/6 of a minute. So if we have our hole and we need to break it up into fourths, and she completed it in 1/4 of a minute, the cargo net. And then we have another one, and this time it's 1/6, so we in half, but then we need to do in thirds. Thirds on each side, because then we have 6 total. So we can see that 1/6 is just a little bit bigger than 1/4, but how are we going to get these to have a common denominator? What do they have in common? Well, if I look at the number 4 and I look at the 6th, I know that I could use a 12, right? A 12 is a common number, a number that 4 and 6 have in common. So what would I multiply by 4 to get to a 12? I would multiply 3. So if I multiplied 3 over 3, I would get 3/12. So this tells me that 1/4 is the same as 3/12. And if I multiplied 2 over 2 by 1/6, I would get 2/12. So 1/6 is the same as, 2/12. So if I were to add our 3/12 plus our 2/12, I would get 5/12. So it takes Julia 5/12 of a minute to complete both obstacles. 5/12 of a minute to complete both obstacles. Because we need to find a denominator that they have in common. Okay? Some obstacle courses include a rope climb. On his first try, Travis climbs 2/3 of the length of the rope. On his second try, he climbs more than his first try by 1/6 of the length of the rope. What part of the rope does Travis climb on his second try? So we can see that here we have the whole length of the rope, right? So on his first try, he climbs 2/3, but on his second try, he climbs 2/3 plus 1/6 more, plus a little bit more. So how could we figure out how much he climbs on the whole thing? Well, if I look at my sixths, can't I break up my 1/3? Aren't 2/6 the same as 1/3? If I take 1/3 times 2 over 2, won't I get 2/6? So if just this part right here is his first try, and now down here we have his second try, it would be 1 6 plus 1 6 plus 1 6 plus 1 6 plus 1 6. So we would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because 1/3 plus 1/3, if we do it in sixths, we would have 4 6 plus the extra 1 6. So his second try would be 5 6 of the length of the rope is how long he would go. So we're going to skip this. We're going to skip this. We're going to skip this. So he would climb 5 6, because the question just is, what part of the rope does Travis climb on his second try? He climbs 5 6 of the rope on his second try. Okay, number 2. To make the obstacle course more challenging, the swinging rings are moved 1/2 foot farther apart. If they were 5/8 foot apart, how far apart are the rings now? So, we're going to start with our hole. Okay? So originally, they were 5/8 foot apart, right? So if I take my hole and I break it up into eighths, and they were 5/8. This is how much they were apart originally. They added another 1/2 foot. So our second picture, they added a 1/2 foot. So we had 1/8. Now we've got halves. How many eighths are in 1/2? Well, look at, I can see that right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1/2 is the same as 4/8. Originally, it was 5/8. So now we're going to have these two added together. So 5/8 plus 4/8 equals 9/8. Now, 9/8, notice the top number is bigger than the smaller number. So if I were to break this apart, I know that I have 8/8, which is the same as 1 whole, and then I would have another 1/8. So 9/8 feet is the same as 1 and 1/8 feet. So that's how far apart the rings would be, because I changed everything into 1/8 pieces. Okay, Jane buys a new pair of sneakers. The heel height of her old pair is 5/6 inch. The heel height of her new pair is 1/2 inch taller. What is the heel height of her new sneakers? Draw a visual model. Okay, so here's 1 inch. Her old would be 5/6. So we would break this up into sixths. So we would go in half, and then we would have 3 on each side, which would make sixths. And it was 5/6. Right? That was her original heel. Well, her new heel is 1 inch taller, or 1/12 of an inch taller. So if I take this and now I break it into twelfths, and it's 1/12 taller, so this would be equal to, right? And then we need 1 bigger. Oops, I did that wrong. I should have done that in pen. I apologize. So it will stand out better. I used the wrong writing utensil. Please forgive me. There we go. So how many twelfths is her new heel, or the heel of her new sneakers? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 twelfths. Because if I were to take these, and these, see how these would be broken into half? So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 twelfths plus one more twelfth would equal 11 twelfths. So it's 11 twelfths inches higher. All right, so we're at the on your own part. So if you want to, you can pause the video, do it independently, and then come back and check your answers, or stay right with me and then do the work with me. Okay. So Tina's making a vitamin drink to enjoy while training for an obstacle course. If she adds 1/2 cup of water to the mix, how many cups of vitamin drink does Tina make? Draw a visual model that supports your answer. So she adds 1/2 cup of water to this mix, right? How many cups of vitamin drink does it make? So we can see that we've got 1, 2, 3. So so it's 2/3 of a cup, right? Of liquid that's in here. And then she adds 1/2 of a cup. So here's our whole. So first off, we've got 2/3 in our container. And then she adds 1/2 cup of water to it. So we need to find a common denominator for 2/3 plus 1/2. We need to find a common denominator. Well, what do 3 and 2 have in common? There aren't any numbers they have in common like when we were doing one of the other problems before. But if I multiply these two, we would get a 6, wouldn't we? So if I did 2, or if we multiply 3 times 2, so I did 2/3 times 2/2, that would be 4/6. And if I did 1/2 times 3/3, that would be 3/6. So now I have a common denominator. So 4/6 plus 3/6 equals 7/6. Because my numerator is bigger than my denominator, I know that I can take out a 1 whole, and then that leaves me with 1/6. So then I have 1 and 1/6. So 1 and 1/6 cups of vitamin drink that she makes. Okay. So we have 1/4 plus 5/6. So what I want to do is I want to look and see, or think about, what do my 4 and my 6 have in common? Is there a number that they have in common? Well, if I multiply 1/4 times 3/3, wouldn't I get 3/12? And if I multiply 5/6 by 2/2, I would get 10/12. So they have 12 in common. So 3/12 plus 10/12 equals 13/12. And again, I've got 12/12, which is the same as 1 whole, and 1/12. So I have 1 and 1/12. 2/3 plus 1/6. So I know that my 3 has something in common with my 6. I need to make my 2/3 into 6ths. So if I multiply that by 2/2, I would get 4/6. 4/6 is the same as 2/3. So 4/6 plus 1/6 equals 5/6. 3/10 plus 1/2. So I know that my 2 has something in common with 10. I can multiply my 1/2 times 5/5, and that's going to get me to tenths. So then I have 5/10. So 3/10 plus 5/10 equals 8/10. All right, 3/5 plus 1/2. Now, one doesn't have something in common with the other, so that means I have to multiply them together to get a common denominator. So 3/5 times 2/2 equals 6/10. 1/2 times 5/5 equals 5/10. So 6/10 plus 5/10 equals 11/10. Whoops, sorry, too big. 11/10, which is the same as 1 1/10. All right, 1/12 plus 5/6. So I can see that a 6, I can change my sixths to be twelfths. So to change my 6 to be twelfths, I'm going to multiply it by 2/2. Remember, 2/2 equals 1 whole. So that's why I can multiply it by that. So 5 times 2 is 10. 6 times 2 is 12. 1/12 plus 10/12 equals 11/12. And then 3/8 plus 3/4. I can see that my 4 has something in common with my 8. I can change my 3/4 by multiplying it by 2/2 to equal 6/8. So 3/8 plus 6/8 equals 9/8. And because my numerator is bigger than my denominator, I can regroup it. And it would be 1 1/8. And I'm going to skip number 9. Alrighty, so remember, you're trying to find a common denominator to help you add your fractions together. So I'm going to have you complete 6.2 independently, and then please return it to me at school so that way I can grade it for you. All right, have a great rest of your day. Bye, 5th grade.